Tina. I may never unsee that.
So I think it's funny. I had 7 people watching during the intro, and now when that picture went straight, I lost 3. Oh, you're welcome. Hey guys, welcome to book club. We are going to be discussing chapters 12, 13, and 14 of Ian Fleming's On Her Majesty's Secret Service, James Bond book. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to... It's been a day, guys. It's been a day. I'm going to be honest. My kids are off school all day. My son's in the tub. I told him you can either stay in the tub or you can come out right now because they can't get you out of the tub, so you're going to have to wait for Daddy. And he said, I'll wait for Daddy. And now he's calling for me. And my husband's not home yet. So I'm going to go through chat real quick, and then I'm going to hand the reins over to the piano that we have here, our amazing Hillary Bray, Miss Gina, classy Disney mom, over on the other side of rock. I'm hearing a wicked echo, guys. Just want to let you know. Some might want to put headphones in. Down here we got Mr. Tim Windsor, His Highness, Chris, Dad Bites, aka Dad Builds, and all the way over in the bottom corner, Professor Tracy, not Teresa. All right, guys. Chat real quick. Monarch Moments, welcome in. Francisco, Katrina Scopini, Tina McNeil, my neighbor to the west. Mike Wheeler, welcome in. Karki, Carol, hello, my friend. How are you? And Tina McNeil says, "Yikes." What up, Chris? Not Chris. Carlos, Dad Bill, Disney World Freak. Oh man, all the names. Sorry, guys. Welcome in, guys. All right. Chapter 12. Rush, you want to start us off, and I'll be right back.
Okay, that's fine. So, chapter 12, we start out, and Bond's back in his room after talking to the Count. And he's kind of looking over his notes again, doing some research into Blofeld, and trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be the best, plan for the next thing to do. And he notices that his room has been searched, and it explains kind of how he's gone around and placed hairs around and put them across his book pages and that kind of a thing, and just to prove that things have been searched and they've been in his room. And so he knows that he's being watched.
It's not a private suite.
Yes. And of course we know that he knows that there's already cameras and microphones, and because he's every time he's in the room, he runs to the bathroom to try and hide or whatever. And so then he decides to kind of go out and explore the resort, and goes into the ski equipment room and tries he tries to steal a little plastic strip that he finds, and he gets out, but he's noticed immediately, which usually as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, that's not Bond at all. He's like,
Hey Russ, can we pause there a second?
Yeah.
I missed something about the plastic strip. I mean, I know what his excuse was, but did he pick that up? I missed why he picked that up.
Well, he was going to try and use it so that he could jam it in the door, so that he could keep the door from locking.
I got it. I missed that. I somehow skipped over that. Okay,
that's why he stole it.
And he used it to draw lines as an excuse.
Well,
okay.
yeah, that later on he because when he gets caught, later on we find he gets caught, but yeah, he thinks he gets away with it, but the heavy that's in there, the henchman or whatever you want to call him, the worker, immediately counts the strips and notices that one is missing, and he goes out and tells the guy at the desk. So,
and I wonder why that was so important for him to be suspicious that he took a strip, like just to go count them.
I
think it just proved he'd been in there, maybe. Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Russ.
I mean, they've been suspicious of him the entire time he's been there.
True.
Right.
And, they keep testing him no matter, they just keep testing him because that's the way, he's an outsider. They don't know who he is. And so, yeah.
Well, Spectre doesn't trust anybody. I mean, they're not going to just be that easy.
Right.
Well, I missed that. What'd she say?
They're making fun of Tracy.
Oh.
Kind of waiting for something to develop behind Tracy.
Well, I must say, he looks very sophisticated today. I'm impressed.
He's going to court.
Everyone's crazy about a shock-dressed man, right?
Yeah. I thought maybe he's teaching school.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe he's here to teach school all of us. That's good.
You gonna school us, Tracy?
I'm just here for chapter 14.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Worry.
Oh man,
Professor Nutter Butter.
But yeah, so he leaves. Bond goes outside, and just kind of starts checking out the resort. He's looking around and just kind of getting the lay of the land, looking at all the different ski slopes and looking at where the kind of where the mountain goes and all that. Of course, he also goes over to the bobsled run. He kind of he's kind of remembering the accident and kind of chalks it up to that. That would be a classic Spectre move for them, just to shove somebody down the ice, or that's a Blofeld move.
Well, hey, again, I probably slept and forgot this, but I have an old brain, When the guy screamed,
yeah,
I mean, it was at that time. It was just, he said he thought he fell off the mountain, or they threw him off the mountain. But did they throw him down the bobsled run? Is that what they actually did?
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah, they pushed him down the bobsled run.
Yeah, okay.
And so, and of course, too, at that time, bobsled runs weren't as nice and smooth like the way they are in the Olympics now. And I mean, so he got cut to ribbons sliding down this ice, and then ends up he hits the shack at the end, and so he's basically hamburger is what he says in the description that he's talking about here in this section.
But the biggest reason I think he was looking at this right now was possible escape routes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, how to get off the mountain as fast as possible.
Yeah,
and that's what he was doing, I think, and because he even kind of reminisces the fact that the ski equipment is newer than what he's used to, and he's he's out of practice, and he also mentions that he's not acclimatized yet, and so he's out of breath, and so he's worried about an escape in the case that one was needed.
Did they ever actually give their altitude? I can't remember that either.
I don't remember. They do at the beginning of when they first get there. That was several chapters back, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like
Professor Allen. Do you remember?
When they land in the helicopter, they kind of tell where they were, but
I think it was like 10,000 feet.
Yeah, I was going to say somewhere between 10 and 15.
That'll do it.
So. Oh, definitely.
Real quick, Jeffrey Resendez and Rhonda, welcome in, and Glenn again. I don't even know if I welcomed you in, Glenn. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been watching the chat.
Okay.
We've just been talking.
All right. So where are we in the book? Jason came home, so
Bond's at the bobsled run, and then Miss Boomt comes. Which does anybody else? And again, I wasn't here last week to talk about Miss Boomt, but every time I see her like show up, I think of Frau Blucher from Young Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that works.
That works too. I was thinking of her as like this actress that also plays in 50 First Dates, and she's also in the one with Queen Latifah where she thinks she's dying and she goes and blows all her money at the Last Holiday, I think is the name of the movie.
No idea.
There's anyways, carry on. Hey, reading anything good down there?
Chapter 14.
I should have done.
But yeah,
All
so Boone shows up. Boone shows up and tells him that lunch is ready, and immediately, and Bond notices that she's very suspicious.
No, she's always suspicious,
but even more so as far as like she's kind of got a mean look on her to where like she's mad at him.
Right, Tracy, we trying to say something.
I was. So they Bond knew that they were in Langard range somewhere above.
Oh yeah.
And their altitude would be about 10,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we thought. All right. So they're going to have lunch.
Thank you, Professor.
And Bond basically says that he brings up the little plastic strip because he deduces that that's why she's mad at him. And
right.
So he passes it off that he needed a ruler so that he could, because as he's writing out the genealogies in order to keep the family tree straight, he wants to keep those straight lines. And so that's what he was after, or that's what he says he's after. And of course, she tells him, well, in the future, all you have to do is ask. You don't have to take it.
Right.
Right. And so they go sit down to lunch, and Fritz, who is the head guy, he's also kind of he's mad about it and still very suspicious of Bond. But they sit down, and this is where we kind of see Ruby getting a little close to Bond.
Here we go.
And playing footsie to the table. So.
Who doesn't enjoy a good game of footsie?
What's that?
I said, who doesn't enjoy a good game of footsie?
And then that's when Boot kind of explains that the privacy and the fact that they're up there doing all this research and they don't want people meddling in their business and that kind of a thing. But then we also notice that the girls all order the same food as they did before. So Ruby wants chicken, Violet wants potatoes. And this was something else that I don't know if anybody else noticed, that they're kind of panning through and talking about who's there amongst the crowd. Mm. One of them is Ursula Andress.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that was
who plays the first Bond girl.
Right.
And
Dr. No.
Dr. No, she's an actress and model.
I didn't know that.
Of the time.
What's her name in that movie? Honey something?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's something like that. But it's But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that Ursula Andress is mentioned in the book, but then later plays a Bond girl.
And they actually used her name. I mean, not. I thought that was funny. That did something else that seemed different when Bond first went to the restaurant. He ordered, I don't know, a steak or something, but then Ruby said, "Oh, can I have chicken?" I mean, it's almost like it was a new thing, and she was excited. But now he's realizing she orders it every time.
Right.
So I don't know if it's like it's a new day every time they go in there.
Yeah, it's for every meal they're ordering the same thing. It's like because they want, and we learn later on why. But I mean,
yeah.
And Bond kind of questions it, and the girls start to talk about it, and look, I almost said Booker.
Irma Butt.
Boot says no. You don't discuss your treatment.
Yeah, they don't discuss much of anything.
He's a professor, Garrett. Get it right.
Oh, and not an auditor. That's bad.
Yeah.
And then she played Honey Rider.
Honey Rider.
Honey Rider.
Typical Bond girl name.
Yeah. Only one better. I won't even say what it was.
I don't know it.
If I was a Bond girl, my name would be Bootsy.
Would be what?
Be what?
Okay. First of all, I wouldn't be a Bond girl, but if I were a Bond girl, my name would be Bootsy.
Bootsy.
Cutesy Bootsy.
Oh, no. It would definitely be Bootsy Sweet Cheeks.
Yep.
Because that's a Bond girl's name.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. It would be.
All right.
And thank you for making me say that, because I have a feeling someone's already clipped it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Innocent.
But yeah, so they're all sitting there, and they're Bond is kind of scanning the crowd, because they're all the people there that are there to ski are also there at the restaurant, and Garrett says that's more Austin Powers though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't see that time.
But they're sitting there, and a man approaches them, and somewhat, thinking that he's Sir Hillary, because he knows Sir Hillary from his army days.
Oh yeah.
And so Bond immediately has to deflect and say, "Oh no, that was my cousin, and he passed away recently."
Yeah.
And he's very nervous about it, very sweaty. He's scared.
But then,
because this could blow the whole operation.
right, and Irma Bunt looks even more suspicious now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. She picks up on it pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
She picks up on everything. It's unusual. That's her. I guess that's her job.
It's all the salad she eats, so
You know what's interesting about the books too, and I think I'd read maybe one book years ago, is that in the book you get this slightly different impression of Bond than you do in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the movies, you never see him sweat. I mean, let's face it, he's always cool and under control. But in the book, they can take the time to describe those feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, there's a lot of aspects to Bond that we don't get from why is my husband snowblowing right now? Sorry. That's
right. My landscapers they decided to wait until now to leaf blow. So
isn't it wonderful? 3 o'clock would be the magic number. After I say, the movies 100% do not portray Bond the way he should be portrayed. They don't portray him in a good light. The books are so much better. They're just phenomenal. So yeah, I agree. 100%.
Well, they can add that detail that they have to. Well, probably 2 reasons. One, there's an image of the movies to maintain from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And then there's just certain things they just don't have time to put in there, I guess, and build that extra story. But I thought that's interesting, though, the way the books do. And I mean, I knew that. I mean, it's not like I've never read books before, but with Bond, he's such a well-known character and so developed movie-wise. And no matter who's playing him, he pretty much always is the same.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book, you get to see this whole new picture of him.
Well, I was just going to say that, again, if we go back when we're finished with the book and we watch the movie, This is where like I was very confused because usually this doesn't happen to Bond.
Right. Exactly.
And he doesn't get caught. You know, he doesn't
No.
mess up like this. And so that's my thing is that, you know, because I mean the title of this chapter is Two Near Misses.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. I mean, he's messed up twice. He's gotten caught stealing the strip of plastic, and then now he's gotten caught, you know, by just a stranger who, you know, supposedly knows him. And so, you know, it just nothing's going his way.
No.
The thing about, like I said last week, Blofeld is not stupid. Things will get back to him lickety split, and all you need is one mess up with this guy. And I don't even know the guy from Adam. Okay, here, go back to Adam. I don't even know the guy, and I can tell that one little screw up and this guy is on you like flies to poop.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't miss much. But again, like I said, that's the nature of their business, if you will. He's going to be suspicious. Plus, he's a evil genius, as they say.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's going to be always alert to that sort of thing. His character was always that way in the movies, too, pretty much. But he wasn't one to be tricked easily.
Yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, that's the end of chapter 12. And then we go into chapter 13.
So looking back at chapter 12, there's really, other than the story of him being with the near misses and kind of, I mean, realistically, what does chapter 13 mean in the total of the book so far? In the book so far, what have we learned about James Bond and his surroundings? So, I mean, we can pretty much describe the book. We've all read the book. I think as a book club, we have to delve into what's going on in this chapter. What did it mean totally up to this point? To me, I think in this book, we see Bond looking at A, it's not easy to get away with something. And B, how do I get out of here in case something goes wrong? You know, so what do you guys think? What do you see? I mean, is he mapping something out? Does he have something in his head? I mean, there's other people on the panel. What do you guys think?
Well, I think he is, and I think it's also because he's concerned about the same things we've been talking about. He knows they're watching him. He knows. I think he maybe even feels the suspicion that they're you know, watching him, and he knows they're, you know, monitoring the room and bugging the room, and he quit. And so I think he is kind of laying the groundwork here. Which is, again, is something you don't really see necessarily in the movies. He just sort of has an escape plan you take for granted. But in this, I think he is trying to lay that groundwork because he knows he's in a precarious position. And by the end of, well, I won't say that, but we find out how precarious in a couple chapters. But yeah, I mean, I think it is. And I think it's also important that he's starting to pick up on some of these.
Because he's going in cold. He has no weapons.
Right.
He has nothing.
He has nothing.
He has to figure out how he's going to get from his objective to the end.
Yeah.
Right now, he's in the middle of nowhere. He's on his own. He has no protection. What's he doing to get protection? What have we learned as far as his enemies now? His enemies are a lot more perceptive than what he originally thought. The good thing about Bond is that he's smart enough to realize that he's been trapped and how I get out of this trap.
Right. Well, I like, you know, because in all these chapters, you know, because he has no weapons, he has nothing. It's just him. As a person that he's uncomfortable being, that he's basically using the psychological side, and he's trying to make friends. He's getting allies with the girls. You know, he's trying to learn from every single person he meets. He's asking questions. You know, he tries to, well, that's in the next chapter, but he tries to get out just to be able to do, you know, so he's just trying to get as much information as possible. And so that he can both catch Blofeld in a lie, you know, and then try and convince him to leave his fortress. to where they can catch it. So he's using his wits much more than we see normally, I would say, you know.
So
And I like the fact that it's much more, you know, he has to be more calculated and figure these things out. And I think one reason why he gets caught is because he's not necessarily used to doing this kind of work. You know, he's used to going in, taking care of his target and leaving. But now he's got to focus a little bit more and be somebody he's not used to being. So,
all right. So where are we now in the book?
We're on chapter 13.
Okay. So he writes this letter back to Stable Basilisk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk about that yet?
No, we ain't got to that yet.
All right.
I started to mention when Tracy was talking, but we hadn't got there really. So,
well, why? Thank you, Chris. Why is he writing this letter back to Inlay Code to let him know that?
Absolutely, this is all cold. He's telling him where he is, at what altitude he is at. And he's going on and he's telling them that, you know, beforehand they went through and they said, if he shows up with Blowfield and he's got lobes, we already know. And now he's telling what he's kind of essentially done with this letter back to his boss would be saying that where I am, approximately, Blowfield has changed his appearance, right? And that there's girls from the United Kingdom with no surnames, and he says that he's got people here. He doesn't know whether they're trapped there or they're not. Are they held against their hostage? He's giving this information back to pretty much. He knows that this is going back to his bosses, not Basilisk himself. It's going back to M. It's going back to the people who's running Corona. But he knows that this letter is going to be looked at. He knows it's going to be read. He's got to write it in a systematic way to say, this is what's going on without giving that information. So it looks like a generic letter back to his boss.
Mm-hmm.
He also pretty much clues into the fact that, hey, listen, get a hold of your buddy Bray and say that, you know,
they may call
for him, you know, to lay low.
Right.
All right, so after he writes the letter, wait a minute, I highlighted. Okay, so he rang the bell and he handed the letter for dispatch. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a question I wondered. Are they going to open up that letter and read it before it actually gets?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so.
So that's.
Was it I guess it is a letter. Maybe he called it a cable, but I was trying to figure out if it was an actual letter, if it was going to be like a telegraph message, or
right.
You know, I wasn't sure exactly how they would send that from up there, but
yeah,
I don't know. Either way, they were going to know what it said. I mean, I'm sure they were reading everything that came and went, especially when it came to do with him.
Yeah.
And like I said, he already knows they've been through all his books and his notebooks and and all that stuff to see what's in there and to see if he's really doing stuff or.
Well, and that's why they set it up at the beginning of the op,
right?
That he would only communicate with Basilisk so that it would look like it was, you know,
legit,
a true just work correspondence, you know,
right,
and not something else.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so at about 5 o'clock, Ruby knocks on the door.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
All right, so
she lost track.
I did. I can't. I have ADHD. My brain is. So
Squirrel.
Ruby comes in. Squirrel, exactly. Ruby comes in. She puts her fingers to her lips and gestures towards the bathroom. Bond, highly intrigued, because who wouldn't be, followed her in and shut the door. So then well, you know. So there's dialogue, they're whispering. So apparently the cameras that they have set up in the room, because we're going to find out that the rooms are bugged and they have cameras. Good grief! What? Sorry.
So
I guess they don't have any microphones or camera. I mean, they're assuming they have no cameras or microphones in the bathrooms, but
Yeah.
you're assuming, but
Yeah.
they're also you're also thinking that these girls have been here. So one,
no, true.
one that bathrooms is a private area. You would just assume, and again, Blofield's an evil guy, so who knows what he's
Yeah,
doing.
he wouldn't. Right, that wouldn't stop him. I don't think. I mean,
But you got to remember, the girls are there for innocent reasons,
right,
not for nefarious.
nefarious.
And they put him in a room that one his guest, as one of the girls, would have been in. So I don't think they would have arbitrarily rigged the bathroom for this area either. But then again, this is also in the early 60s when privacy laws weren't as crazy, but then again, you're also talking Europeans who are a little bit more gentlemanly, like that won't put cameras in the bathroom.
Maybe not. True. Well, it wasn't like everybody had a closed circuit TV like we could today. I mean, we could all have cameras and all kinds of stuff back then. Only people like Blofeld or MI6 or MI5 would have something like that in their buildings anyway back then. And then maybe the girls also knew or assumed they were safe there because they'd been doing this for a while. They'd been meeting in the bathroom and having their discussions or whatever that they felt safe doing. So, maybe I guess if they'd gone to the bathroom and discussed anything Blofeld didn't want them to discuss and he had monitored them, he would have done something about it. So maybe they were safe in that regard.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I'm trying to think if in 1960, whatever this book was, 3, I can't remember now, but if I even remember seeing closed circuit cameras in stores or anything back then.
Yeah. So, in this conversation, we found out why she loves chicken so much.
Yeah. I don't blame her for not wanting to muck out the chicken stalls, though. If you've ever been around a chicken house, that is not fun to do.
I don't want to know.
I had a friend that did that one summer when he was in high school. He said that was not a job you really wanted.
Yeah.
I used to have a farm with goats and chickens, and the goats weren't as messy as the chickens. So
Yeah.
That's surprising. Wow.
They actually weren't as messy at all, but the chickens were. My husband used to clean out the coop, and it was just very interesting.
You can imagine what it's like in these modern chicken houses, and I'm digressing, but where there's thousands of chickens in cages and how deep it gets in there before they get them mucked out.
Yeah.
This guy said they wore hip boots, and that almost wasn't enough at times. So
Mhm.
anyway, moving on.
Hope no one's hungry. So she's initially coming in because she wants to know about her genealogy.
Yes.
Because
We think she is anyway.
Well, right. And so she pokes and pries, and she says, that she has, let's see.
Well, she felt bad because she couldn't tell him her surname.
Right. But I think she does. She said it's Windsor.
Well, she does now, yeah.
Yeah.
VP's eating chicken right now.
Wait, who?
VP.
Oh no, VP. Oh, man. Chickens are a lot tastier than their living habits. So yeah.
Cluck.
Did you say cluck cluck? So then she gets into about the chickens and says that she's allergic to them and she thinks they're gross. I simply couldn't bear them. All those feathers and stupid pecking, the mess and the smell, I loathe them. Even eating chicken brought me out in sort of a rash.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she says that she saw an ad in the Poultry Farmers Gazette, and it said anyone suffering from chicken allergy, then followed a long Latin name, could apply for a course of, and she stutters and says for a cure. so in a Swiss institute. So that's how she landed herself there. And then I'm trying to go through my highlights. I was very good.
I wonder why Blofeld was looking for country girls, if you will, because that seems to be where they were all
Everybody
from.
wants a good country girl.
Oh, we're gonna find that out.
What'd you say, Chris?
All right.
What Chris said was, and he can clip it later for himself, is everybody loves a country girl.
Oh, okay.
Hey, city girls are good too. Don't knock city girls.
Well, I mean, he was specifically going after them in the magazines and stuff like agricultural, where I was thinking maybe because he thought they'd be more gullible, perhaps, or more.
Well, no, I think when you read this chapter and you see he gives her a test.
Yeah.
And that test pretty much does kind of count for intelligence. She thought that she was nowhere going to pass it. Mm-hmm. What he's testing them for is suppability.
Okay.
And he's taking them from agriculture areas because that's his plan. His plan is to do something in the Blofield's a mastermind. He's looking for other people to do his dirty work. Mm-hmm. I think if you look at the last book, he was definitely outed as the mastermind. This time here, he's trying to mask his mastermindness with other people.
Yeah.
True.
And we'll find out. I don't think we'll find out within these 3 chapters. I think it's the later chapters that we're going to find out.
We get a hint of it in chapter 14. Yes.
See, this is the book that I actually am reading correctly. I have not read ahead.
I know. So I guess I'm the Tracy this book because I'm reading. Yeah.
Are you with me, Chris? Are you reading just or are you with her?
No,
I'm reading just. I'm not getting ahead. So
some people are not playing by the rules.
Well, you know what she said? She'd probably tell you it's her book club. By God, she'll read what she wants to.
I never said any such thing. I just couldn't.
I said you might say that. I said you might say that.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
All right, moving on. So, she says the Count has absolutely cured her trouble. I simply love chickens now. Her eyes became suddenly rapt. I think they're just the most beautiful, wonderful birds in the world. Well, that's a jolly good show, says Bond. Totally missed the pride. I love that.
What a comeback.
Oh, gosh. Oh, it's so funny. So now
he can be pretty coy when he needs to be.
Uh-huh. And so now he's trying to get into about her name because he needs to know why these girls are there. And he's going to use Ruby as his decoy to try to find out these girls' last names.
Well, he's not actually trying to get the names. She actually volunteers her last name because what he is. He thinks, or they think, that they can tie them back to some eras. Just like we go all the way back in the beginning of this book, not the beginning of the mission, and when Basilisk tells him, people make a fool of themselves when they think that they're going to be connected to nobility.
Mm-hmm. Well, in her case, she said her name went back to the Windsors, which is the ruling family of England. So I would see why they might want to do that.
And if you go back to the chapter before this is what Bond has done with Irma. He put that idea into Irma Bunce, saying that she could be a lady. So now all of these country girls who are commoners, now they're thinking maybe some way I can tie myself back to a nobility, which I highly doubt any of these girls are nobility because he did take them from the agricultural field, the commoner stock, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this is his way to get in with her, to get information from her and stuff that she's not even, because he's using that. She doesn't even think that way. She's thinking about the name and what he does.
Correct. So it's too bad that he wrote the letter to Basilisk before this happened, because if he had gotten this conversation before the letter, he would have then be able to include. No, I don't think he would include those names because he was going to be read and he wasn't allowed to have them.
He was getting in trouble. So
he may have.
That's true.
He may have worked it around and gotten those names into something else, but at least there was some way that he can.
There's a quote in chapter 10 that I wrote down that what a clever trap snobbery is.
Correct.
And when he goes back to that character of Sir Hilary, that's the way he can do that. He can use that to get the information he needs. And so I think that's what he's trying to do now. He's getting as much information as possible. And he also picks up on the fact that, Ruby likes him. And
well, speaking of Ruby likes him, let's get to chapter 14.
And moves on. Well, I was just going to say, and then it moves into somewhat of the steamy part, but not just yet. That's a whole other day after this, but
that is correct.
There's a day we got to talk about first.
He does get the ball rolling because he knows that he needs to act quick, and so he does. He pulls her in close and he kisses her to try to persuade her.
Yes.
And then he tells her that she thinks she's terribly attractive. And of course she fawns all over it.
Yes.
But that's the thing about these girls, isn't it? That's why they are picked is, they're not all that. They're not.
Well, you also got to remember, he's playing the part of a noble.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's got a nobility title.
Well, he's Sir Hillary.
So when you're looking at it, these girls, not only are they hoping to have some kind of tie to nobility, getting together with a noble will help their chances of becoming a lady.
Right, exactly. So they basically discuss how they need to meet after hours. They have to sneak in. There's a way that the cameras won't see them if they sneak from the door to the bathroom, and they have to be really coy about it. That's the way that they are able to meet and plan out her genealogy, or whatever it is. Is there anything I'm missing before I go into
then they go the next morning, and he goes out to the bar and basically finds out the same information from Violet, that she's been allergic to potatoes, and now she's been cured. Bond asks Bunt if there's any way that he's able to go down to the town just to look around, and she basically says absolutely not. And that's basically into that chapter.
He was asking more just to see the way the no was delivered.
Right. Because he knew he wouldn't be able to. He just was trying to see if there's any way.
The last line of this chapter, I love it. It says, but as Bond followed, so he's following Irma Bunt out, and he says, as Bond followed her into the dining room, it was quite an effort to restrain his right shoe from giving Irma Bunt a really tremendous kick in her tight, bulging behind.
Yeah.
It made me laugh.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. So, all right. And we have chapter 14. Someone else can lead this one because
go for it, Tracy.
So what happens is Bond now makes his way over to Ruby's
You might want to loosen your tie.
No, I'm a very professional person. I can handle this professionally.
Okay.
So
that was a good thing I was muted. You don't know what I was.
We'll see if Tracy or Tina can.
So Bond pretty much sneaks out, and he doesn't go hide in the bathroom. He goes to the bed.
No.
And then he gingerly lays down on the bed and puts his head beside hers on the pillow. He notices with a pang of pleasure that she had left room for him. He kissed her, at first softly, and then with fierceness. Her body stirred. Her mouth yielded to his
Okay.
when he left and then began to its exploration. She put her arms around him. I'm catching cold. Bond followed the lie with pulling a single sheet away and under him and covering them both. The warmth and softness of her splendid body were now all his. Bond lay against her.
Tina left.
Drew her fingernails to the left hand softly down her flat stomach. The velvety skin fluttered. She gave a small groan and reached down for his hand and held it. Do you love me a little bit?
When I read that chapter, I didn't hear it in that voice.
I didn't either. That's different than than what I heard. I mean, it's,
How did you hear it?
David Tennant's voice.
I just kind of monotone. Yeah, it wasn't no big deal. But you put a whole different,
Ian wants to know if
light
we're gonna
on the
get a
subject.
play-by-play. Yeah. Maybe I should pull. Maybe I should pull over.
Maybe you should, Annie.
Oh gosh.
Katrina thinks she needs to put headphones on.
Yes. We should have put a disclaimer before the chapter. If you have little ones present, put your headphones in.
I didn't read nothing inappropriate.
He's pretty much
there.
covered it all by now.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And it's, I mean,
He
He left a few lines out, but yeah, he did pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Not that I remember. But
no.
Right.
I kind of skimmed over this part.
you
I
really?
just thought it was like I was getting
Sure.
stressed because if they get caught,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Well,
be a very
that's the
bad
thing.
situation. So I was stressed while I was like reading it. Like,
Well, I'm thinking he is caught because they know the room's bugged. And there's
Right.
a camera, even though it's dark, there's still a camera, and we don't know if it's infrared or not.
Well, come on. I mean, you remember seeing any of the camera? I mean, they can't even get great security footage off today's cameras at the grocery store.
True. But this Blofeld Inspector, they've got the best stuff, highest tech stuff.
All right.
out there.
So, I mean, here we are. We got Bond, who's actually using Bond techniques to get information. And he actually drifts off to sleep and with her or somewhat on the edge of sleep when that alarm goes off. And now we know how Blofeld has cured these girls of their allergies. And I don't think they're allergies per se. They're just picky eating type things. She was not allergic to chicken because she was allergic to chicken. She was allergic to chickens because she didn't want to be around chickens.
She was repulsed by the barn.
But the same thing with the potatoes. She wasn't allergic to potatoes. She didn't have an anaphylactic shock about the potatoes. She just was around them.
It wasn't medical, it was mental.
It was all a mental issue. So what he did was he took hypnosis and cured these girls of their allergies.
Brainwashing them.
He's brainwashing
in
them
this case.
under hypnosis.
Yes.
So this is what he hears in the middle of the night. She's asleep. She's under hypnosis because here Blofeld is doing the hypnotizing chants. So we get to that part, and then, so I mean, realistically, and then when he comes back to his interview with Blofeld, and we're going through. Realistically, what he's saying is I've gotten this part of the genealogy of this noble family. We have to go back and work from your sides backwards, and he's still trying to convince him to get to town or get to another country where we have extradition. Extradition.
Yeah.
before you
Well,
get to
this
Hold
was
on.
also something else that kind of surprised me was that he actually asks what?
Chris was saying something.
I'm
We
sorry.
couldn't hear him well. He was so low.
before we get to that whole thing with Blofeld, though, the whole hypnotizing thing, isn't this an ingenious way, one, to test the hypnosis theory, and two, to build the trust of your patients so that you can then use the hypnosis theory for your nefarious purpose?
Absolutely.
Because if you cure someone of stuff like this, then they're going to trust you to do, that you're only there to help them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you can seed in whatever you want to seed in.
All right. Go ahead, Russ. What were you
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it surprised me that Bond asked Blofeld about the girls in their conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, because that was just like, okay, well, that's not necessarily pertinent to what we're discussing. And immediately, I think that's where he, of course, then he gets the phone call about the research materials that are supposed to be coming up the mountain.
Correct.
Yep.
and we're kind of getting close. So at the end of this chapter, it's the number 2 of their
double alts.
It's their number 2 of the Secret Service stationed in Zurich.
Well, before we get there, even Blofeld basically bribes.
Oh yes,
Sir
Yeah.
Hillary.
he's
to-
not connected. He's just
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
He's just assuming like there are any other underpaid civil servant,
Mhm.
and he could get, because just because you have a title doesn't mean you have money.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Yeah, and he's more interested in, well, he probably has money too, but he's more interested at this point, it seems to me, the credibility that the name would give him from a
correct. Well, and
away
that's
from
what I'm
crime.
saying. So the credibility of being a count will help him, especially when it comes to his nefarious deeds.
Yeah.
He can hide behind that whole count persona.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's maintaining that well if he suspects something, because even here he seems to get a little bit excited about the progress they've made and how close he may be getting to being a count, or at least I took it that way. Kind of like they, and I think Bond even thinks this, that he's hooked. They've got him here in this regard, but you can't, with all the other stuff that's going on, you're not really sure if that's an act or if that's real.
Right.
Hard to tell yet.
Whether or not he really is playing along, or whether he
Yeah.
is, yeah.
And maybe he is thinking it's going well to this point, but you still know he's suspicious. So
Mhm.
anyway,
So this agent comes in and immediately recognizes Bond, blows it up. I think we can confidently say at this point his cover is blown.
No. If you look at the end of this chapter, right? Bond knew the answer immediately, and momentarily he died. Behind the snow and the blood of the face was a man on the floor. Bond recognized the face and knew of the man he knew. The blonde hair, the nose broken, boxing for the Navy, belonged to a friend of his in the service. It was unmistakably number 2 from the Station Z Zurich. In other words, this guy isn't recognizing Bond. Bond is recognizing him.
that
Yeah,
we know of.
because he's
Yeah.
dead.
The only
Well, is he dead yet?
Yeah, they bring the guy in. He's dead. I thought.
No.
Well, no, I mean,
I don't think he's dead yet, but I
Is he
think
not?
he's
Okay,
been
just
beaten up.
okay.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I did it first, and I looked back over it again, and I'm thinking he may have still
Okay.
been alive at that point.
We're gonna find out the full details in the next chapter.
Yeah, I knew that because it kind of leaves it at a cliffhanger. So
Yeah. So right now we don't know.
Some people have read ahead, so
We'll have to wait until next week for chapter 15, 16, and 17. And yeah. So
what?
It's getting exciting now.
it
Yeah.
is. It is.
So Gina, what do you think about all this? You're kind of quiet. Oh, I know we talk over everybody, so
Me?
yeah, you.
Oh.
I mean,
Oh, I thought you said Tina.
no, I know what Tina's thinking.
I mean, I guess I'm visually picturing Sean Connery, his demeanor throughout the whole thing, and I think that it's one of those things that you don't know who's double crossing who. I'm not sure if I trust the girls entirely. They're being hypnotized, maybe compelled in some way.
True.
I think that I think he has to be careful, and it's a good thing he wrote that letter because he's by himself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
good point. Because she could have actually been hypnotized to seduce Bond and see what she could find out for Blofeld. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that yet. Go ahead.
Am I the only person that hasn't wondered if maybe Bond wasn't hypnotized at some point during his stay so far?
I thought the same thing.
I wondered about that a little bit, but I've never been hypnotized, and they say some people can't be because they're too strong-willed. And my thinking is maybe Bond's that kind of person. But then again, this is a little different Bond than we're used to seeing in the movies. Again, like we talked about earlier. So I don't know.
because earlier in one of the chapters, he hears the faint whispers. Remember when he's falling asleep and he hears things?
It's true.
So, who knows? Maybe we'll find that out. I don't know. But
I mean, I know we're going to talk about the movie at the end of this, or watch the movie or whatever. But the movie's done a little bit differently, as I recall.
It's quite different. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And Tracy's there, which she's not yet here. I see that grin, Tina. You know,
That's called Teresa. We're supposed to be calling her Teresa.
Teresa.
Tracy's been here the whole time.
all right, guys, it's 4:04. We're headed
Yeah.
to Carlos Disney World's Freak Show, which I'm also supposed to be on. So let's go around the horn. We'll start with Tracy and work our way up. What do you got coming up?
Just Thursday with Not Wasting Time, then Family Pizza Night on Friday at 5, and Nerd Talk for my Nerd Talk on Sunday at 3:00 on Diz or Dream.
Yeah.
Awesome. Chris, how about you?
There's a strong chance Sunday at 2:30.
Excellent.
Sweet. Sweet. John, Surf Bomb, welcome in. Good to see you. We're just wrapping things up. Katrina, could you put Carlos's link in the chat for me, please, or someone? Anyone. All right, Tim, how about you? Anything
Saturday morning, coffee. It's I haven't talked to anybody yet, but if I can get somebody to come on, I may get somebody to come on and discuss some things. So just so I don't bore people to death. But that's the only plan I've got right now. I'm still trying to figure out how to get I've got some more Lego videos I'm trying to put together and get online, but I haven't got them yet. So I'm a slow learner.
Okay. And Gina, you are silent observer, chatter, no channel, right?
No, I'm just in, follow the streams, and I mean, I have a YouTube, but I don't do anything. I thought about it, but I really don't know what I would do. So, yeah.
cool.
All right, Russ, how about you?
Sir Hillary.
Saturday we're going to be cooking, and doing Valentine's meals / just whatever they want to make. But I got quite a few people coming, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And then Nerd Talk on Sunday with Diz or Dream.
Sweet. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Catch me tomorrow, 5 p.m. for Wednesday Whateverness. We're going to be discussing Disney nostalgia. I have some old photos and some memories that I want to share, so I'm really excited about this stream. Come check it out. Have a wonderful day. Next week, chapters 15, 16, and 17 of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Who knows what shenanigans will pop up? You just have to wait and see. So, all right, guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you tomorrow.